Anyway, are we recording? We are recording. This could be the start. Who knows? Whatever. Are we recording?
It's Tom and Matt from the Shindig podcast. What's going on, guys?
How's it going? Yes, welcome back.
Thank you once again for tuning in. If you support what we do here at the Shindig podcast, this is the only trial-specific podcast. Please do check us out on shindigmedia.com. There you'll find all of our links to our YouTube, podcast, and, of course, our merchandise. There's no better way to show that you support this show by purchasing our trials-specific athlete.
It's a brand new sports line as well, because we are athletes.
Yep.
So, go and check it out. Some proper sports clothing, high quality, all made from recycled materials.
Embroidered, high-quality stuff. You're going to be a true athlete if you wear that. Today's show, we have got the other half of Tricks and Stunts, Mr. Martin HAWYES. We've completed our Tricks and Stunts deck now.
If there was such a thing as a deck. Like that.
But this is a really interesting conversation. Lots of things learnt here.
A bit of an eye-opener for us too.
Yeah, you're going to learn as to why Martin HAWYES believes, a uniform, some kind of riding, clothing or gear is very important for the sport.
Important. He also got his frame made by famous martial arts Hollywood actor.
See you.
Click for more.
And we delved a little bit into why him and Martin Ashton didn't actually ride for the same bike company. Yeah, seems obvious when you think about it. But
there's an obvious healthy rivalry, but he goes into it a little bit more depth. So
it's a good episode. I really think you're going to enjoy this one. Let's go.
Enjoy.
Martin HAWYES, how are we doing?
What up? What's up? How are we doing?
Great.
You all right?
We feel honoured. We've now completed the Tricks and Stunts.
You should be.
Martin Ashton, Martin HAWYES.
Where do we go from here again? We keep.
Well, you've done it best till last, right? Some ways you eat roasted.
Delayed gratification.
Now it's on to the main thing. Yeah.
Love that, mate. Love that. How are you doing today, mate?
All good. I got zero complaints.
You're at home right now today, working from home. Yeah. Whereabouts is home for you?
This is welcome to Horsey Towers. We're in the study. This is where we're kind of making our living, like a lot of other people, basically. And we're kind of near Whipsnade Zoo, so bottom of the M1, top of the M25. Think very quickly on a map like that kind of.
That's in a reasonable spot to get around.
Yeah,
you are.
Yeah.
And I know that a lot of people, you're working from home. I want to jump straight into the most interesting thing that caught our eyes when Ashton told us. You're actually working for Monster right now as well, aren't you? Monster Energy.
For
those that don't know. Is that quite recent?
Hand ready to hand.
Yeah, there we go. Obviously they do.
So cool.
I know, yeah. Mate, tell us, how did that start? It was quite recent, wasn't it? How did you kick off from there?
When did I start? About 18 months ago, so February last year. So I think I managed to get about 5, maybe 6 weeks that I managed to work in the office before it was like everyone just scarper and kind of work from home. So most of my career at Monster has been spent in this room, if I'm honest. So maybe that's the reason it's lasted so long.
Were you going to that building that was on the A40 back? Did you remember?
We got a new building. So a lot of people seem to know that. It's a new building now.
I always drove past it. Yeah.
But it is as good as you think it would be. I'm not bigging it up for no reason. I really enjoy it. I've got zero complaints. Like I say, it is what you think it is. It's full legit. It's a lot of fun, a lot of hard work, like most places. But we're kicking ass. We're doing really good, and everything that I'm exposed to is something that I'm interested in. So it's kind of like I always think of my riding career as kind of like that's what happens if I won the lottery. You'd buy a big house, you'd buy some toys, you'd have, that's my fucking speedboat, these are all of my cars, and you'd have an amazing holiday, but then over time, you go, okay, well, what is my life? Well, I just go ride my bike. That's what I do. And I've had that, but my job was kind of doing things I was interested in, and this is the version of that now and where I'm at in my life. So do I like bikes, motocross, cars, autosports,
anything extreme?
Yes. Am I exposed to that? Yes. And then am I now very interested in business and marketing and kind of commercial? Yes, all of that. And that's what I get to do, basically. So
And you're their brand manager Is that what I read? Is that correct?
Yeah,
It's quite
that's
a big
right.
responsibility,
So,
mate. For
yeah. So for Europe, Middle East, and Africa. So
Yeah.
they're quite a wide scope. So we look at kind of where we're winning and where we think we could win more, and kind of look at, okay, well, what levers do we need to pull to kind of advance what we're doing? So
Oh, glad. Well, now we know first-hand information from someone at Monster. You know, when someone eventually wants to debate, we don't own a podcast. Monster don't own one yet, do they? So you know,
yeah,
they
We could change this to
We
like
could change-
black and green.
yeah,
you
look,
know,
it's almost on brand.
Shindig if you're like
It's
a
gritty.
mutant. Yeah.
guys, I think I've got them. I think they're interested.
You know,
yeah.
but,
We've been doing it wrong for all these years.
But I mean, incredible for yourself because you know you've been in the bike or extreme bike industry for many years. So it seems like the perfect segue for you to get into, right?
Yeah. I had. It's kind of my second role within FMCG, fast moving consumer goods. You know, I kind of been in the bike industry. When I finished riding, I went into that and did marketing roles, sales roles, development roles, MPD roles, developing new products and all that kind of stuff. And then I went to WD-40, and that was my first exposure. And there was obviously a very strong link to kind of my background and what we wanted to achieve there. And that was great. And then got asked to come back into the bike industry for one of the big distributors, Zara Fisher. And then this opportunity came along, and I'll be honest, I wanted to move into something where I didn't know everything, and obviously the scale of our business is so big that I wanted to understand a bit more of that, because I can't, bike industry, mate, completed it, mate. You know,
Well, it is, 'cause you can go from one brand to the
Absolutely.
next, but you're still sort of dealing with the same people. It's just from a different side.
Exactly.
Well,
And my mental appetite for development is the same tool I used to get better on a bike is what I'm using now to be what I am now. So I needed to see something and develop further, because I kind of like, that was it really. Kind of like the bike is, now I know what we should be looking at and some of the other things. The bike industry isn't quite there yet. So just even things like customer data, all of those kind of things, the industry's not quite there, and kind of the way that we can kind of think about strategy.
yeah.
A lot of people for marketing in the bike industry, and this isn't to do anyone a disservice, but it's quite a common perception of, we'll do some events, we'll place some adverts and do some bike reviews and some tests, and it's way more than that. And that's kind of, and I don't mean anyone a disservice. But there are some very talented marketers in the industry, but I just want to move on and kind of fulfill that appetite that I've got, really. So that's where we're at. And obviously this is the best of both worlds. I'm really interested in everything we're exposed to, and I'm developing in the way that I wanted to. So it's all good.
Sounds ideal. I mean,
it's very serious, wasn't it?
Yeah.
No, but sometimes it is.
We got corporate then.
Yeah,
like,
sometimes it is.
There was going to be management strategies coming out. There was going to be like psychology and marketing and PR.
There's that corporate term, a mayor. I didn't know what that meant until last year, because now that's what's in my job title. So I wouldn't even know a mayor. Who the hell's a mayor?
Yeah.
Now it's sort of in that corporate world. Makes sense.
God, look at you talking about your corporate stuff. God, stick it to the man.
It's terrible. But obviously, no, mate. Well, congratulations on that. That seems like a bit of another dream little role, and it's great to hear you be so enthusiastic about a job like that, even now, because part of me thinks that when you were riding a bike for a living, you're like, oh, this must be it. Oh no, I'm not riding a bike, but the fact that you're still enjoying. And
from what we can see, it allows you to still have a pretty good life, because you're still at all the trials events. With your son, he's killing it. He's yeah.
Little Harry.
Hey, this is about me. Yeah. This isn't about him. Love his time.
Harry's all
right. Okay, motor trials. Let's talk about motor trials.
He isn't quite there yet, is he? But he's no. But I think it must be fantastic for you coming in, seeing that firsthand.
It's mega.
Absolutely, mate.
That's dream come true stuff, right?
Yeah, that's what I thought.
The parent thing is, shit, I've made one of my best friends. That's like me and Harry.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
And we go riding together now on obviously the push irons and on the motorbikes. And I've got a riding buddy. Just recently we were on the motorbikes, and you both have everyone does this. You go riding with your buddy, and you've got your own objectives, right? You kind of, I want to get that today, and I want to get that. And I sent him up something, and he was a bit kind of like, oh, I'm not sure about that. And I said, well, I'll stand there and catch you. And he was like, yeah, a couple of goes. And then I kind of got on my bike to do something, and he went in and went to do it, and I'm like, fuck, if he falls off, I'm not going to get him. Because he just stepped up and was like, I'm having it. He went in, did it, and then, of course, I'm there going, he's called me out. Like, so we're already at that stage now where it's like, fuck, I've got to do mine now because he's cleaned his. And I'm like, a bit kind of like, this could go wrong and be very expensive. So it's been come true territory.
Yeah, mate, it does sound that way.
He's doing all right, isn't he? So we'll see how it goes. But,
and he was quite recently, I mean, just cut the wrong side of his leg. Quite recently got a harsh shindig. He was in the hospital. We did see that. That looked really bad.
Yeah, that was really funny because I mean, we could laugh at. He had just done some amazing stuff on that ride on a cross-country loop at Woburn, and it happened in the car park. He literally just stepped backwards, tripped over the pedal, and as he stepped back, the teeth of it just ripped into his leg. And of course, I saw it, was like, and he went, ow. I was like, what are you doing? And then went, oh no. And he said, right, don't look at it, which is like, don't think of a pink elephant.
Yeah, it's like.
Yeah, and he's like, what? And I was like, right, okay, look, it's cut. And I literally, I don't know, I went straight into the van and went, we need a zip tie on that.
It's like the blood.
And I literally was like, that's just going to flood. So I literally went straight to that. I didn't do anything. So stay there, put a pull tie on it straight away.
Cut the circulation.
And I was just like, how's that? It's like, it's a bit tight. It's like, good. And then basically just Googled, because we live further down the road. We had to drive to where that riding spot was, and was like, right, nearest, like, okay, Milton Keynes, there's got to be an A&E there. And it was just like, right, okay, this van can go quite quick round corners, it turns out.
Yeah.
Get him in, and then obviously, he had to, poor lad, had to have a few stitches, but he was mega through it. Like, he kind of like he was more upset. Genuinely, he was more upset, and his tears came from the fact that we were about to go on a riding weekend a few weeks afterwards, and he wanted me on a ride.
Wow.
Magic,
He's got to go through those though. Now it's like, cool, you've done that. You've got your trophy, so to speak, you know, because they are, and you kind of get it out of the way. So
it wasn't fair. It wasn't fair. He got that for something that was in the car park. He could have had something way worse, but yeah, he's got a shark bite story for the girls now.
Yeah, exactly. And now the perfect story is you're understudy someone who's going to come and take over your route on the bicycle there.
Thank fucking hard, though, isn't it? Let's be honest.
But speaking of being in dreamy situations, mate, you yourself, like Ashton, you also had a signature frame, didn't you? The giant sort of bike frame. And a couple of people did ask, saying, "Oh, find out how Martin got that. How did that come about? How did you manage to get your own frame? And what was the process of when you chose that sort of thing?"
Yeah. So, you know, I mean, the top level is kind of like, you know, me and Martin, we knew that we love bikes, and our whole ethos was basically, we love bikes, we hope you love bikes, and if you do, let's have a laugh riding bikes.
Yeah.
And we moved to the mountain bikes because everyone had one. You know, you can kind of go down your street and you're going to open someone's garage or shed and you're going to get to a mountain bike. So ride for the mountain bike brands. That's where the scale is. And then from that, it was like, but we've still got quite pure hearts at that point in our career around competition. So the standard mountain bike was, you know, it was doing us a disservice for our ability. Kind of like, we were never right up there, but we were up there enough to know, look, that needs to change to give me half a fighting chance. And at least at British Championship alone, we need to be able to kind of just have something that does work off-road. And it was just a case of pitching it in the right way to our sponsors. So for me, Giant, in the way that it had commercial value. And I guess this is that kind of that brain that I was talking about. So as a complete bike, the duty on that is way higher than a frame, like to 10 percentage points, basically, roughly. So bringing in a frame is way better and more efficient. And obviously there's less man hours for a bicycle brand to do that as well. Because it's like, well, make that is our core competency. And then you put whatever parts you can afford on it, because you could spec it at £1,000 or 300 quid. Which one do you do?
Yeah.
So that was the way that we could get the scale into it. And then when I joined Giant, originally actually only on the British team. And then the world team found out that there was a trials rider and they saw a few other teams having them. And that I was riding internationally, and said, well, let's have a chat about some of the events you could do. And then I was like, well, I'm leapfrogging into that. And then that's what helped me get that permission. So I went to a team camp, and I kid you not, the engineer's name, who I designed that with, from the Far East, was Jackie Chan.
You can't make that up, can you?
Wow.
Obviously, they adopt a Western name, which is kind of like the cultural style. Like, I've met people called Stone because they thought that Western word was cool.
Yeah.
But his name was Jackie Chan. And I literally,
So
there was like this serviette once in the hotel, and we kind of wrote down the geometry that I thought it should be back then, that would have kind of done us what we did based on the stuff. And then, and that was it. Like, I think it was, what was it? Like the dream was, I think it was about 390. And then I think we eventually got to the 380 as a back end or something like that. And that was, but like the overall wheelbase, I think, was about 1040. Which, if you think about a 20-inch right now, which has got way smaller wheels, you're like, wheels still fit it all in. But that was kind of how that came about. And then we kind of just, did a load of testing. The first ones came, they were way too narrow, so they didn't fit a rear tyre in properly. And because the flex of when you kind of start, there's a lot of energy in there when you kind of...
of course.
Two pedals back, that first one can really kind of move. So
your tyre starts rubbing on the frame when you're kicking or something.
Exactly. So I'll slow down. So understanding kind of that, and also understanding the metals. Like, I was really lucky that Mike Burrows, who designed a load of those Lotus bikes that we used back then in the Olympics in the early 90s, he was still on a retainer from Giant. So he had some great ideas, and we got some real tech stuff. I'm getting too deep already.
This is what it's all about.
The reason that frame is so strong is because it actually had quite a high copper element in the alley. It's a special aluminium, so that you had to weld it in a strong way. But that was one of the reasons it was strong, because that was one of the fallouts of, we don't want to sermon loads of people to snap them. Of course, people are going to snap them. They're jumping off fucking bus stops. But
at least eventually,
if you can reduce it as much as possible, so it was kind of working out on that sort of stuff as well, which is.
Well, they're still around.
As much as possible about everything that you're doing at the time. That's the kind of philosophy, I guess, that I've got, is learn as much as possible about everything you're doing at this time, and then sort of apply it.
You soak it up and all carry
on.
It. They're still around, the frames. There's
going for strong money.
Ali C in July 2020, so a year ago. His vlog is, I managed to get Martin Hall's signature frame, and I rode it. What do you think? And it got really good traction from what I saw online. Still in good nick.
On it than I ever did.
He's done a really. It's not been announced, but there is a retro trials event happening in a couple of months. I don't know if I know the date's been said. I'll wait till the next podcast. But so. I know that bike will be there, and there'll be some old school frames.
So I've recently got one of my prototypes back.
This is what I was going to ask. Do you have any?
How many you got?
Have you got any frames knocking about that you've still?
So it's funny. I've got a couple. I've got one kind of new old stock. Like, he's got some stickers on. I think it was used at a bike show, and then that was it. And then I kept that one because it was pristine. I've got my bike from Chain Spotting. I've got the frame. I've got the frame from Chain Spotting, because that was like that was a seminal bike, and it was like, don't get rid of that one.
Iconic.
I couldn't have sold it for anything anyway.
That's what I mean. It's worth more being on the wall than it is to anybody else, surely.
Sentimental, And then I recently I forgot that I gave one of my prototypes away to a very close family friend. And then I've got that back recently, which was really nice to kind of get that back, because that's a prototype one, and it's like that was never made, so that one's kind of like that leads the story to where kind of like the one I've got upstairs, basically. So upstairs means it's in the loft, chaps. I'll be honest. Like, I've got parts, and then I've got I want to build it up, but then it's kind of. There's two scenarios to that in my head of kind of like build it up. Oh, they're all the right parts, and build it up, because I had lots of different sponsors and lots of things. So I could go with Maverick rims, I could go with like Fatso rims, I could do all that. But at the end of the day, if I build it up, I'll end up riding it, and I should ride it. I kind of it's kind of like just for fun. But it'll still get a twang, and like, okay, I dinged it, but then it'll be quite.
But is it like sometimes as well, when you've had those things, like in the memory, it's better than what it is? Like, are you kind of scared if you build it up and then it's like it rides like a bag of nails?
You
how
just
the hell?
Tom, if I get on anything, I'll make it look like a bag of shit. That's me. It's not the bike. Like, we've just ride one last year, and it looked pretty good, if you're asking me. So it's nothing to me, mate.
And I think with most trials careers and people that push each other, we'll get into you and Martin, you know, as the duo that you did come. You know, very similar paths, very similar kind of careers to some extent. Obviously, was there competition secretly in the background? You know, he's got a sponsor from Cannondale, then he's got a signature frame. Oh, you've got a sponsor with Giant, a signature frame. You know, why? I'm surprised you guys didn't get like a dual, like the same company sponsored you, but you were sponsored by different companies and had, you know, different bikes. I was wondering how that compared to each other. Like, well, oh, what frame are you building? What geometry are you doing with that? And how different you guys were, but you always came as a pair almost. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
In the best way, I mean.
No, completely. I've got my brain's thinking there's two ways I can answer this. Which one do I do?
You can abuse each other. I'm sure people got you mixed up at one point. Did Giant think they were sponsoring Martin Ashton?
Obviously on Chainspot, which is why,
This is what I'm wondering. Because some people are like, they're two different people.
Martin isn't our surname. Basically, at the start of it, when we kind of went in, and a massive shout out to Martin, a massive, even bigger shout out to his dad, because his dad, Mike Ashton, Martin's the nicest bloke you'll meet until you meet his dad. And then that is the nicest bloke you will ever meet in your fucking life. He's golden. He was incredible, and he really did shape and guide us into a space, because we both come from motorcycle trials, and at that point, the governing body wasn't really being very encouraging to the rule changes that needed to be adopted, because there was such a new style of riding, and it was just quite difficult. And we're at a point where we wanted that independence, and bikes meant you could throw it in the back of a car and you could ride anywhere, as the car park, etc. And so as we went into mountain biking, because he was like, look, mountain biking is quite buzzing, it's moving forwards, it's kind of fresh thinking, and we were like, yeah, it's a good space. And then obviously we learned about hands, and we learned about the trials competitions that Martin spoke about when he was on, that we attended. We did work together very closely, and we knew what we liked, and we hoped that it resonated to the point, and as cheesy as this sounds, but this is a real thing, jackets were so fucking important to us. We would wear the same colour jackets as if we were a team. We weren't, but we made it fucking look like we were a team.
You got to look the part.
Yeah, exactly. And I'll be honest, I probably still carry that to this day. It's like, I need to look factory. I can't ride good, but I need to look factory. And we would do that. People bought into that and thought it was a real thing. And then you start seeing it emulated. So we rode together on a number of different teams. Like, you know, we would find opportunities. To answer your question, we would find opportunities, and we would always go, okay, yeah, so that's great, but it'll be me and my mate. It won't just be me. And they'd be like, ooh, okay.
Awesome. Love that.
And we would do that all the way through. And then, quite frankly, without being vulgar, it got to a point where teams couldn't afford both of us. Then that's where it was just like, well, we've got to kind of, Martin managed to get an amazing deal with Volvo Cannondale at the height of Volvo and Cannondale. And luckily that set a precedent for the rest of us, in the same way that, you know, you can't give Martin enough props for some of the stuff that he was able to do. And so, like JMC for downhill, he did that for trials. You know, he was like, well, like, you know, a UK rider could be on a global mountain bike team, which meant, well, I'll go for the biggest mountain bike manufacturer in the world then, because that means I'm with the biggest one and you're just with the most famous one. So there's obviously a competitive spirit. To answer the other part of your question, we'd try and outbuy each other in McDonald's, mate. Like, okay, I'll have 6 nuggets. It's like, well, I'll have fucking 12 then. So I'll beat you there. And, you know, there was a massive friendly competitive spirit to it all the time, because we knew that if, like, it's a nourish and nurture environment, right? The bigger we can make it, the more people do it. The more people do it, we all benefit. And that was always, and still is, the ethos, I think, that all trials riders should be thinking about it. And I think it didn't do that for a while. But, you know, it's kind of, it seems like it's gone back there again now. So, but that's the way it kind of worked. And then, yeah, so we kind of, it got to a point, we worked as teams together, and then we kind of got that notoriety that people were like, okay, we're into this. And then, yeah, because of cost and because of...
Yeah, that actually makes sense.
So would you say then that kind of, because you was Giant, he was Cannondale, that then because you both had your independence, like if he's doing Cannondale and he's getting good stuff from them, does that then mean you then pushed harder at Giant and say, well, hold on a minute,
he's getting this, well, and then vice versa? Was it kind of
completely that?
That's like the best situation, because that really pushes this. Because if you just both were with one person, then that would you'd kind of just be complacent, I suppose. I mean, you probably still push, but it
Yeah,
sounds
yeah,
like
yeah.
you've kind of grown, better apart.
It was
really.
better that way.
Yeah.
Oh, at the end of it, I mean, yeah, at the end of it, like, he had Volvo Canada. So then I was on Giant, and it was like, yeah, but I don't have a car sponsor. So then I went and got Toyota with Giant, and kind of like, I've now got a free fucking car as well, but it goes down to like, to the point of, at its height, there wasn't anything that wasn't a sponsor, to the point of like, Martin had Animal, and they were famously for the clothing, but back then originally were the watches. So I had Kahuna watches, like we both had Globe shoes. If it was on you or you were using it, then it, like, the premise was like, can we make this a sponsor to grow it? And it sounds very commercial, and part of it is, but for the right reason, but all done in the kind of for the love of the sport and for the love of trying to grow the scene in the right ways. We didn't pursue Monty or Mega Mode to kind of go, oh, give us stuff because we're good, because that wasn't going to do anything for anyone. It was, you're preaching to the converted, you're pushing them an open door.
And I think
fine.
That's my work phone. I was about to say, just cancel it. That's my bad. What I would say, actually, that sort of the route that you and Martin even took of that sponsorship deal, and so that kind of set the precedent for what a lot of sponsorships happen now. I look at some trials riders who are full time, and they're like, "Oh, cool, yeah, a bike brand and a car brand to kind of support those things." So I think that was the start of what.
Where would you say that come from then? Had to have that kind of intuition to know that, to ask for more and to really grow that. Like, was it through mentorship with riders before, or? Yeah.
So again, there was a. Martin spoke about a person called Ian Benson, who's the guitarist. He gave us a good, because me and Martin were basically inseparable for years. Like, we were kind of literally just in the same venue all the time, playing on bikes, if I'm honest. And we had a bit of that. And it's really hard to acknowledge even now, but we were way more business savvy and strategic than we probably realized we were. And it wasn't by design. It was just, we had a natural ability to apply our brains to the situation to work out what it was. And I don't want it to come across too commercial. It should be commercial.
That's how things
there was a responsibility. Charlie and Jack have got that responsibility now, and it's not a light responsibility, but they should be commercial. They should still embrace the scene. But it's like the Aaron Gwynn argument of a few years ago. It's like, why should he be on £1 million? Because the guy in 15th then makes a really good living from it as well, and he's equally threatening his life at that speed, and it steps up. This is obviously my opinion. It's my fucking opinion. I'll say this.
Yeah, absolutely, mate.
It was like, I think it was like Hans and some of the other people were saying that you can add so much more value to sponsorship than not just necessarily podium results, but the whole package.
Yeah. And that was your thing. It's like, it's not. And that was the thing that we worked out really early. A sponsorship proposal is like, this is what I want to give you. Do you want to pay for it? It's not, will you give me this so I can? Because it's like, hang on. And if you can, take that task away from a marketing department to go, I will get you this many views, I will get you this much media exposure. If you wanted this many pages in the magazine, it would cost you 100 grand. So for this sponsorship, then it's 15 grand. So I can have 100 grand worth of pages for 15 grand.
And then I'll be
I think that's good maths.
Yeah.
And you just add that, and that's it. But it's like, but you know that you're going to get that exposure, so they don't need to think about it. So take that risk, take that thought, that problem off their desk, and you've given them a service. You're providing a service when you at very top level, a basic level. That's all it is, right? But
exactly that.
Just transfer of value. That's basically what it is.
Yeah.
Right. Let me just go. Found some old pictures today, Martin. That I'm just gonna. Sometimes we like to just share.
Very colourful.
Oh, brilliant.
We'll go.
Look how old you've got. Look how young you were.
That's too easy.
That's too easy. Yeah. Well, let's go for this one.
Oh wow. Yeah.
This one here is what he's looking at.
That's what he's looking at. Yeah.
Can you? Oh, because we can't just see it. Then what am I doing to myself? There we go.
Yeah.
Right, for listeners who can't see, he's actually got an Ashton bike in the background with him rather than his Giant. Do you know where is this? Can you tell us about the picture? He sat there, cheesy.
Really? You get two guesses. Where do you think that is?
I feel like it's Porthcawl.
Done completely. Yeah.
Yes.
It looks really good weather, like how
Doesn't look like England, does it? It's sunny. It's
You don't have the
gorgeous.
exclusive on it.
And
It
that
could
was
be sunny in other places.
I like this as a stock photo. Like, I want to know who's going to buy this and be like, right, I need to get a mountain biker image for my promotion.
nice. It's watermarked there, so you can see where I actually got it from. He's got some like Air Force One, Nike Air Force One trainers for riding shoes. That's what they look like.
90s, mate. They're Amex 90s.
What was going on here on that day then, mind? Do you remember?
Yeah, I do, completely. So the photographer was Steve Bardens, and he's a very well-known photographer who takes a lot of sporting pictures for the big broadsheets and newspapers generally.
Yeah.
And yeah, this is kind of, I'm going to say it's about 2007, I think. 2007.
I want to say that because he's got zoo bars.
I just spotted that.
Oh, he's got zoo bars on there as well, like those little.
Yeah.
I remember
Little
those
subtle rises.
That was
Yeah. So yeah. And look, to go back to that previous point about anything that you wear and anything like, even the socks of Troy Lee.
Oh, there, yeah. So you've got Troy Lee gloves on.
Yeah.
Troy, and then you're in the full attire there, aren't you?
Yeah, but I love that, and we should talk about that because I think that stuff's really important. I really do. But yeah, that's basically kind of almost at the end of kind of like riding where kind of you could still sort of see me. So because people say, why did you stop riding? And I didn't. You just don't see me ride anymore. That's the difference. I just don't need to do it in front of anyone anymore. So that's what this is, and that's why it's a photo shoot. I think it was literally the last full photo shoot I did for MB UK.
Because it looks like one of the bikes, that looks like the sort of spec it was when I started riding trials, only like
back in the day 15. When you could get different colour parts, not black or red.
Yeah, still, that's a Hope stem, Hope headset, that's a Hope hub, and a Hope skewer.
Questionable position of the skewer against the fork, though.
Yes, definitely on the wrong side.
If we're going to get really pedantic,
right?
But it's a really good photo, actually, Martin. You're really happy. Good old. You just look proper pleased with yourself. Like, I've done it. I've lived the dream.
Completely.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like. Then one more another little. This one's a bit older, actually.
A bit more colourful.
Can you see that?
Yeah.
Wow. Again, very colourful gyro helmet there. Never seen that one before.
Team issue only.
Is that what it was?
Wow.
Okay, so you've got all the giant jersey on as well. The we call them Power Ranger outfits, I think, because it's just you look like a proper Power Ranger. But I think to some people, like you mentioned, though, that is part of it, isn't it? So was this one of your competitions with Giant?
That's is that 98, 99, possibly Belgium, or was that British Championship? No, Belgium we had bimps on. Yeah, but that's at the height of it all. I mean, that was special kit made by Fox for the team. And kind of like I had a really unique bike that year that was kind of all Giant colours, but it actually had a round down tube, and it was fit. It was so fit. But
because everything was like square tubing, I get it, and then there's just one nice.
Yeah, but the trouble was they went too thin on the taper, and they didn't last. That was the only problem, because I was like, oh, if we could get these to production, that'd be amazing. But we couldn't do it. It just wouldn't last basically in the hands of everybody else. But it was a fit bike that year. And that's what that is. Yeah.
It looks like I feel like it's a competition because you're looking very serious in the face there.
Yeah, but I mean, but we will, we would continue to wear that with pride in a demo as well. And I think that's probably a lot to do with the era, because you kind of wanted to show that you're pro. But I still subscribe to putting a kit on that shows that you're doing something. So a big shout out to Adam Morwood, because he does that.
He does that very well.
Yeah.
And that really resonates with me, and I think that is a really important thing. Again, just because, that's a selling opportunity, right? So then he's valuable to his sponsors, because people go, I want to buy that kit that he wears.
Yeah.
Okay, at safety level, and I don't mean disrespect, but for me, I don't get as excited about seeing some very incredible riders that kind of turn up as if they've just finished a run. They're in short shorts and a t-shirt, and I'm like, I don't know if you wore that here or whether you forgot your kit. And for me, I think
Yeah, when you see the kid go swimming in his boxers, like, did he buy them as swimming shorts?
It's like when you see Charlie doing it like in a polo t-shirt. You're like, how uncomfortable must that be?
Like, I mean, like that trial at Derby, that move on that log where it was big and he almost had to kind of do a tyre tap and then someone get back.
Oh.
It was like we're really lucky. We've got Jack and we've got Charlie, and these are our Thessa years. Like in my era, we had Thessa Kanyas, and it was just like, fuck, let's just go watch him. That's just nuts.
Yeah.
And we've got that locally now, like in our own domestic scene. It's like, oh my god, we don't have to travel like on an airplane. I can watch that now, but I just wish they kind of looked a bit more. Like,
no, it's a very interesting thought. It does.
It's my opinion. It could be.
I understand the professionalism of an image and perception. I do understand.
I think you've almost got that now. Like looking at you on this call, because obviously you're working from home, but you're still wearing like a work attire. Because I think because mentally you're then that's what you're there for. Then once you put that on, you then saying right, I'm here to compete. I've put my competing jacket. I'm here to go to work and. It's quite cool to have the distinctions in your brain, basically.
Totally right. It's kind of, it is, my brain does, fucking has to. Otherwise, it's style. Just like, I'll see you in the garage.
Yeah, that's it. I just suddenly realise, like, I'm suddenly looking at my bikes instead of actually doing work.
I've got handcuffs under here. I can't go anywhere. No, I like to say, I mean, I speak to those guys, and big respect. They're incredible. But I just think it means more when they're kind of stood in kit. And maybe that's just my perspective and it's outdated, but I just think that helps the scene, that helps the sport grow because you know that they're wearing a kit. There's no reason why he thinks on the top of this, but you see it in every other sport, right? In every other sport, they put on a kit. And I've got no problem with the kit being very conservatively designed. So, can we just have it navy? Can we have it black?
Right, yeah, it doesn't have to be freaking
it doesn't have to be like
unicorn.
Back in the 90s, it's full Power Range. It doesn't have to be that, but I still think it needs to be something because that is a selling opportunity, which makes the scene grow, makes sponsors come on board. It makes we'll make that, we'll make money from that. And also, it just looks like, okay, that is what I aspire to be, rather than go, well, I've got the kit. I just need the talent. I can wear my PE kit and be like that. And that's like, I just think that would be a good step forwards in my opinion. But
no, it's getting the Cox working. So remember those back in the day, Cox used to do those 3/4 length shorts. And they had like a Cox logo down the side. There'd be people in the description like Benito wore them.
I've got them. I've still got them. I've kept them.
Yeah, I got them on that basis because it was like Benito and all the top riders had them and stuff.
Yeah.
Let's be really fucking clear. I said nothing about 3/4.
I don't know why.
I guess because the word Cox was just too long. They thought we've got another X on there. We better make the leg a bit longer.
How's it going to go down? Yeah.
But it's a good point. That just solidifies what we're doing, like, because we're coming away from T-shirts and just making sports clothing now, in the Shindig term. So sort of realise it's like, okay, that makes more sense because that itself it looks better. It's more of a, like, that kind of image. It's an active sport.
And it is like a sort of material you'd only really wear riding. You wouldn't, because we are just wearing T-shirts, which is a bit naff, I suppose.
Yeah, but even... I'm not trying to make it cost prohibitive either. Like, it's not about kind of like you kind of only doing the sport if you spend a load of money. That's not what I'm saying. Like, even if a few people were wearing similar branded T-shirts or similar things, it makes it look like, okay, they're the riders, we're the spectators. It shouldn't look like somebody sunbathing in their shorts and T-shirt watching the trials. Like, is he going to get on and ride? Because he looks like he's wearing the same stuff.
Yeah, no, it's true. You get one guy, someone like Charlie or someone in his whole attire or whatever doing moves, and then somebody else in Vans and like Van shorts, and they're just like doing all these tricks, and you don't know. So someone as a spectator, I can see this now, as a spectator from the outside, you're not quite sure, like, wait, is that guy better than him? Or
the best one for me was in like the 2008s when everyone had a Tarty Bikes T-shirt because it came through with the orders. So it was Tarty Bikes T-shirt. You're a rider.
You're like, oh, he's a trials rider.
Yeah. So just to finish that point, there's a really interesting. I've just thought of this while we're talking about it. John Shrewsbury does it. Yeah, you always know what he's probably going to look like. Yeah,
Yep.
but you know what to expect and you know what it looks like, and it's still quite a casual look, but it's not that casual that you kind of see it, and it's kind of like okay, and it makes sense for him to look like that because he's a very street-based rider that applies his craft to
that sort of image. It comes with it. Yeah.
But you know that there is an image that I expect to see that he would look like he's wearing the right uniform for street riding.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Very,
That's
yeah.
true.
Yeah.
And often he's just wearing our stuff now, which is nice to know.
Yeah, we gave him a signature shirt because it's a long sleeve and
It
it's
is,
got
'cause
like with a print on it, and it's called
Yeah.
the Shrewsbury Special.
And
yeah.
he's even got his signature on the back. So, you know,
Yeah.
it's his first signature item, I suppose. Maybe one day we'll start doing signature frames, I suppose. But you and Martin, you've seen a lot of progression in trials. As you know, the sport has changed drastically. Things, the bikes, the geos, even the rules of the freaking competitions.
Yeah,
That's what I wanted to ask about now. You've seen it from the very start there, and you know what it is like now. What are your kind of views on that? How do you think that progression went, and if it's
Should it go? Yeah.
Where should it go? Maybe, or is it?
Yeah. Multiple views, I think, because I think you can't. I come from the off-road background. I love trials. I love motorcycle trials. You know, that's the first love, and there's a kind of a story like Martin touched on, and kind of like pretending to be on our bikes and enjoying that. And I love like the nibble, and you still see that. And what I mean by that is kind of like, you know, the tire goes on that bit there and there, and I love that. I won't ever stop loving it. I think that bit's great. So, kind of speaking about this as well, about kind of like I need to see those type trials as well. Yeah, I need them because I love, like, you know, and I know it's kind of like that it's progressed. So from that off road, I still love that because I've loved the line choice, and that's probably the biggest contributing factor to me starting to remove myself from the competition scene when I did, because it started to move to like tap, gap, side up, tap, gap, side up, and it was just like, it was weight, like Chris Hackwick, we kind of described it as weights and measures. It was like, I can side up this, I can front touch that, and that's it. It's like, well, I know how to set a competition up for you then, because it's
okay, that's an interesting,
Whereas for me, like, I've had some of my best results previously because I was not getting in that queue. And then people would get in the queue and it was like, fuck, Martin's seen a line. And I'd be like, I ain't going there. And like, there's a bit here that you could ramp off, or you could do that. And I still like that now. And you still get to do that on motorbikes because, you know, there's multiple choices of, I don't like it from there, I'm going to go from here. And I like that. And what gear do I choose and all that kind of stuff. So that's really important to me. And the bike trial stuff is still something that I'll always pay attention to because I love just the ability to go, how the fuck do you ride up that?
yeah. There's just a challenge, like, how do we get up there?
But in the same way, you still have that same sentence in your head when you look at what we've done with the UCI stuff now. And I will say that I think that is going to translate much better than anything. And it is a format now which the UCI have made that will land in any town centre, in anywhere in the world, that a non-trials fan can understand immediately. So much so that you could almost have like a winner's like, because you watch a race and it's like, I know who won. Yeah. You watch a trial in the woods and you're like, fuck knows what's going on. He seems to be going all right, but there's somebody over there and I just heard some cheers, so he must have done something good, but I didn't get to see it. Whereas that progression of points, I mean, I know the UCI and the FIM, the governing body for motorbikes, don't get along. I mean, Christ, there's potentially 2 e-bike world championships going on.
Separate ones.
But indoor motorbike trials, they're foolish not to adopt it because it makes so much sense. It's so forgiving, and a system that goes, as you get through the section, it will get bigger. So the drama alone for each section is like, I fucking wanted to get through that because how the hell will they do that rather than go, no, see you later. I was like, well, they didn't even get to that. And like, you could get a maximum lap real quick. So that system, I'm a fan of it. I really didn't like it at first because I didn't know it. And then when you sort of see it televised from like, the worlds and stuff, when we've watched Jack and everyone, and you kind of go through that and you're like, okay, this is great. Like, he's got more points, and you can just instantly see it. It's rewarding for the riders. You can kind of go, I think, and it's kind of, it's a bit more kind of like, that was always a thing. It's like, I got a 1 meter from the edge of the section. You got a 5, 10 meters in. Really? What, we both got the same score? But I did all of this, and I think that's
you're
good.
actually getting rewarded now for the progression you're going through, whereas before.
Yeah. The levels come out. Like, and it shows, like, you know, my capability is rewarded slightly over somebody else's that is, you know, that didn't get as far as I did. So I think, I'm a fan of it. And with the system at play, you know, they can measure it. They can measure it by age, because obviously I've had to look at that for age. It's like, are they going to send them off a big drop? And they've got limits. Like, when you read it, it's like they won't send that age group over this height. They won't send this age group over that height. And it's kind of like, well, that is how you could see it becoming, like, well, potentially Olympic. You know, we've got so many other sports.
That would be the dream.
That's the bit. Fucking hell, if the British guys aren't fucking all over British cycling right now, I don't know what more of a golden ticket after the Olympics right now, where they're going, fuck, let's get into cycling. We're really good at it. Like, fucking
fun this.
British
riders,
they're never going to be
my money.
I mean, it's funny you said that too. I was riding in Cornwall last weekend, full of tourists. Just, you know, when you just ride on a street next to the wall sleep, and these people going, was this in the Olympics? And I'm going to this guy. It
We've
wasn't.
had that a couple of times,
and he
actually.
couldn't believe it, because it's such a high. It's a spectators sport. People sit and watch.
That's it. It televises so well, because, like, you know, you can just go, well, how big do we need? We literally, you know, you can dump it into a small space. It's like you could ship stuff there. It's really easy to resource it locally and make stuff. It just works really well now.
People will be entertained by it. Like,
I mean,
what do you think then the future potentially of trials? I know we both asked Martin and Hans about this, because obviously e-bikes are really becoming a huge thing, and getting more and more affordable. How do you think they're going to tie that into a competition side of things? What your views on that?
Yeah, we had a chat about this, didn't we?
When we were at Derby a little bit. Yeah, we did.
Yeah, I think. I firmly believe, like, that's the way that you get scale into the sport again. I think, like, I guess I'm sort of going back to answer your question, but like that UCI format, I always said to the governing bodies when we were riding that I thought that the red and yellow route should be set off in the afternoon, so that those guys earlier could have their trial, then watch us do it, so that it continued the inspiration. That format works really well. And I think, sort of like, you know, the whites, the blues, the greens, you can ride them on a mountain bike now. So that's where the scale is for the sport. You can bring a mountain bike. You won't have to ding a chain ring. You could get round that course and just have fun with your mates. And then you can watch it. And if they're interested, they'll stick around. And if not, they'll bugger off. But at least you've got more people doing the sport. And then from that, you go into e-bikes, where I think e-bikes is, obviously, with the weight and everything, you're back into bike trial, or kind of natural trial.
It's closer to what it came from, isn't it?
Exactly, and I just think that format of kind of, like, it's like reverse enduro. So it's like an enduro format, which is basically you'll go around, there'll be special stages, and you're either timed to get up it, and it's kind of like, you know, and if you like, I guess, like a system of, if you put foot down, then we'll add 10 seconds, we'll add 5 seconds, whatever, and you can have a cumulative time at the end of it, or it'll be observed sections. But the observed sections are, like, quite tricky, but I can see that, like, long distance kind of natural trials. But like enduro, you go around and you come down a bit, well, then you'll go up it and they'll kind of work it. But like I said, apparently Forest of Dean, there's already, like, for the locals, there's a bit of a kind of a lap that's got a load of sections in it. I've not done it, I've not seen it, I've not really ridden them, like, properly in anger off road yet. My wife literally rode one yesterday evening for the first time and said, yeah, they're brilliant, we need to look at them. So,
she's like, get me a bike. You're like, what?
Yeah. She's all right, she can get bikes.
Okay, good. Yeah, you're right. You're not one to bring a bike home, and she's sort of like, where have you got another bike for?
No, she runs Cannondale GT in the UK, so she's all right for getting bikes.
Oh, okay. It's your wife's side. It's just really like, what? A GT and Cannondale? So, like,
no, she's all right.
That sounds like a pretty strong household then in the industry. You've always had 2 wheels around you, I should say. Anything with 2 wheels.
Yeah. I guess. When I said my address, I actually meant Sheffield. Nowhere near this area. Don't come looking.
Don't come here.
But yeah, so that's where I see it. I think there's some exciting stuff, and me and Chris have spent a long time thinking and talking about it, because obviously Chris Ackrig, he's done some lovely videos.
He's still riding quite a bit, actually.
And he's doing some stuff, and we've talked about, because we've come from that motorcycle trials background, we've done the bike trial thing together as well. Then we're talking about, well, which engine's better, the Bosch or the Shimano? Because obviously it's about the set off and getting grip and all that, and that's where I get really fired up. And like, how does that work? And there's some interesting stuff you could get there. It's like, which map are you on? Do you want first time? Or you want fast turbo, or do you kind of knock it back? So it's kind of, but they're going to be things to think about, right, within it.
Yeah. So, what setting did you have yours on to go up here today? Oh, I'm going to put mine to 5. Oh, let's all go on 5. Like, it will be that weird. But I think especially for, you mentioned Chris again, which hopefully he's listening and hopefully he's going to come on. He's the next. It suits his style perfectly. E-bike. Amazing stuff. The stuff he's even doing now, you see, he just obviously goes out in the woods with his dog. It looks like he has a great time.
Yeah. That was the most obvious thing to us when they came out. It's just like, fuck, someone's got to ride one of them off the stream, because that's what it'll do. Like, because we used to do that. We used to, when we all ride together, we'd have a thing. We'd go, okay, right, this section's no stop. And what we meant by that was you couldn't adjust your pedals. You just had to keep pedaling the whole way through.
That's
and
interesting.
No rolling.
Yeah.
And we would do that like endlessly at every session, be like, right, no stop.
No constant.
And we do that, so you'd have to adjust. Like, you could still lift, but you'd be spinning around. And we'd do that, and we'd often end up going like very long, kind of weird, nudgery stuff. And obviously now an e-bike, it's like, right, now there's a tool to do it. Let's have a go, and kind of that's where we're at.
Excuse not to cycle up.
Doing it up the hill, yeah.
It's
like Manifesto, but on the pedals as well. That's mad, yeah.
Well, speaking of you riding your bike, we always go into our little semi-quick fire questions, just to get the same questions to each guest, to get some idea of where they might have liked to have ridden, their favourite. We may already know the answers to these, but we always like to
I'm going
ask them
for one
to be sure.
I'll probably get one.
But let's find out. So first of all, where is one of your favourite places to ride, Martin, on your trials bike? Porthcawl, next. We knew that. That's like the third. I think that's the third guest to say Porthcawl. We're just trying to count them up. Ashton, John.
Oh, John said that. Okay.
Or maybe
there was a reason why we chose it.
Yeah,
there's
it
a reason
definitely
why
is.
I mean, I can give you other answers. I mean, a really good place that we rode was, who was it? Me, Chris, and Eddie. We went to the I think so. Went to the Euro Championship 2004 in Finland. And we stayed with a friend, Martin Clavard, in Sweden. And that was an amazing spot, because it kind of like slick rock, the places that you sort of see in sort of Malta, and you also see in kind of like America, like big, long stretches of rock that were really grippy. So you could ride, like we were just talking about, I guess, ride long slabs in long gear and loads of grip, but there were some big moves that could roll into it. That was an alternative.
Sounds flowy. Finland, that was a new one anyway. All right, that seems like a good spot. Yeah. We might know who are those riders or rider that you're riding with, of course, when you're there to push each other. And
there's so many ways to answer that question. You know who I'm going to say.
Yeah, we do, sort of. It's like Martin and Martin.
Yeah, so so Martin, Chris, Eddie, Kurt. I mean, Chris, Eddie, Kurt, myself, we generally get together at least once a year and have a spin together somewhere. And that will often involve trials bikes as well as mountain bikes and motorbikes. So that's quite funny. We'll do that.
We'll have to catch them on that day.
Nice
They're out.
Just
turn up, fly on the wall. Exactly.
Nice long lens.
It's kind of, from a fantasy kind of
binoculars.
More of a cherished memory. Me and Mark would always ride and train together. But there was always, and this sounds really funny, but when you get to, like, the weather's been pretty naff this summer, hasn't it? Like, let's be honest. I mean, I'm not normally one to complain about the weather, but this is like, I finished competitions recently and I had to put my clothes in the fucking bucket. They're no good.
I don't like those types.
But me and Mark would ride, and there was always this week at the end of the season in October where it's kind of your last glimpse of sunshine, and we'd always kind of have a really good ride together in Porthcawl each day on the beach, and then have a Diet Coke at the end and just chill out and almost say goodbye to the year. And that was mega. And if you could give me anything, I'd take that week every year, because we'd have it every year. And it was always, we didn't know when that week would be, but in October, you'll notice as it comes around this year, have a look for it, and there'll be these maybe 3, maybe 5 days where like, oh, it's really sunny. and that's your last glimpse. And whenever that happened, we would go, let's have a good day, have a ride, we'll have a Coke, maybe a pack of Smarties as well, and just chill out and just go fucking, and just enjoy that. So if you could give me anything, it would be that.
So that.
Yeah, that sounds...
And then to tie it all up, what is the one move, the horsey move that you're going to be doing?
Back wheel stuff. That's where I spent a lot of time figuring out how to calm down stuff and stay on and keep it in rhythm and keep it in check.
Yeah. And
that was one place where we would all be quite similarly sort of strength, and Mark would have a bit more power and Chris would be a bit more fucking hell, he's coming, and kind of do a rolling and a lift, get out of the way. But if it was tech, like in a back wheel drop scenario, it'd be like, Aussie, get on this, and they'd be like, right, okay, land it here, go there, and kind of I really enjoyed that sort of stuff.
And it's always that much harder on those geometry bikes that you have.
Yeah, you're like
it was always that much
I'm
harder.
holding the front end up. I've got it.
That's what's funny is they didn't know that. You know, you guys were doing these tricks, being like, "Yeah, I can hold it on the back wheel. I can do this." And
I'm looking at now like I enjoy doing those, but only because the stem and everything is upright. It is pogo. It is so much easier.
Well, I mean, have you? That's what I wanted to go on to now a little bit. Obviously, seeing the progression, you made your own frame, you designed that geometry, and now like look at frames that are made, they are just really out there. Have you had to go on the proper modern trials bikes? What do you think about them?
Yeah, I have a really.
Harry's got a Jitsi. He's quite a new. He's got what's
he's got. I'm really proud of this fact. Really proud of this fact. He's got a legacy bike. So he's got Martin Ashton's son's first Monty.
Oh, wow. That is
so he won that championship on Alfie Ashton's bike. It's Alfie's, and then as Alfie grew out of it, like Martin said, does Harry won.
Cool.
And so he won that on that. So yeah, that one's not going anywhere. But it is, there was a bit of a expensive deal from that. But let's move on.
Forget about that for now. It's fine. He's got the bike.
But, I've got an Impulse, which is from a few years ago now.
I remember those. Yeah.
And I really like it. What's it, 1085-ish? So slightly modern geometry, but and it's good. It opens up some stuff. It closes some other stuff, like rolly wise for me, for my style. But that's okay because I just like hopping around on it with H now in the garden and when we do it. So the only thing I would say, and me and Carl Waitman have a massive giggle about this, is that I would rather fucking 5 it than have my bars that far down.
Right now, it is severe. It's the severity
I'm
of
at a point where it's just like, that from the Tour de France or not? Because that's quite a drop.
Does it hurt your wrists just looking at it?
It doesn't look fit in the car park. My bike now, it looks fit. From the side, it's like, oh, that looks good. That looks nice. And but you won't be able to do that. So, fuck it, it looks good. Like I'll take the 5, but I don't want it looking like that because that just doesn't make sense. So yeah.
Well, this is it. I think with extreme moves comes extreme setups. You see what I mean? I know that we say this. Charlie and Carthy kind of put that in the forefront.
I think it goes for any sport when you get to the top of it. Really, like the setups that you would have in, say, like a Formula One car, or even certain like running shoes and stuff, like wouldn't be what your average consumer would do. But idiots like me look at these people and go, "Oh, that looks good. I'll do that." And I'm never getting the full benefit out of it. But
mate, after Derby, seeing Charlie and everything, I kind of like I undid them, and I was just like, I can't. I was like, what does it look like?
He tried it.
No. I didn't try it because I did it. I sort of put it there, and then I just put it against the side and looked it from the side. I was like, no, fuck that. I wasn't even prepared to do it because I was tempted because you see him and he does inspire you. You're just like, I'm never going to be that, but it must. And your brain understands. It's like, okay, you get that purchase. And you're not even lifting to the back wheel then, are you? You cut on the front and go, well, there you go, it's just there.
Yeah.
And I can see how it works, but fuck it.
Well, I mean, it's just given like another avenue of trials. Again, it's so amazing. You don't get this in BMX, or really, you just don't get that kind of other ways of techniques, I want to say, because you've got people doing the same moves on trials, generally going from here to here, but their bikes absolutely completely different. Like, you know, Charlie going in front, but somebody else is doing that same.
But holding in front and stuff, you know, no one ever. Yeah. But anyway, it's a topic for another day, I suppose.
Everything about you, as long as your bars are over your front axle and whatnot. So
kind of rounding this all up, Martin. Who would you want to see, or who do you think people need to hear from on the Shindig podcast?
Oh, it's tricky. As you get later into these things, it's like, because you've just done a load of people that I thought I could suggest them. I was like, fuckers, they've done it.
Oh, wicked. Well, that's great. We've got some other.
That's good. You've done Hans, you've done Kenny. So thinking about it, I think for comedy value, I'm going to say Martin Ashton. I think you scratched the surface. I think there's more. I just think it's funny.
100%. Yeah, we want round two. Yeah.
Have you done? You haven't done Akric, have you? You haven't, Chris?
No, but I do have his mobile number.
Yeah. So you should do.
Waiting for the call out. So now his name's been said.
Just you might need to record it and then just do some subtitles so people can understand what he's saying, because he's very hard accent. It's like, oh, I don't understand. So
he's going to love that.
I think so I've got a couple of suggestions. I don't know how long it'd be. Maybe it's just quite a condensed version, but I think it'd be quite interesting for some to maybe speak to Brian and Stuart Matthews, who obviously Essex, they developed from nothing into kind of what me and Martin, and continue to do that for a long time, and they'll have some interesting stories. And I think it's good to know your history. And then on that as well, the only other person I thought that you haven't really already covered off, and equally had a very significant influence on the scene, was Giles Wolfe.
I see. That's what Steve Rogers mentioned. That.
Yeah,
Giles. He's Steve Rogers. That's
a lot of riders that you've probably already spoken to will have been through his kind of like nursery program and through. So I think he might be. And what a fascinating guy, right? He's got that application brain where he made his living, and he did that thing with MAD, and now he's like a qualified paramedic, which is no easy task.
Different.
So he's gone, right, my brain's going to do that now, and he's doing that. So I think that's quite an interesting one for the history.
That's a good point. That's the second time his name's popped up. So
and then outside of that, you've already done Adam, and if we didn't, our conversation didn't actually get there. But from my perspective, the most important person in our trials history, from my perspective, I think. You kind of from Tarty Bikes, what a dude, right?
Yeah, we like to think we're going to go full circle and just do like round two of everyone and have a catch up, because people like yourselves and anyone who actually wants to listen to those characters, they already invest in them, and us having another episode only just gives more value.
I'd
like to
that
think
guy
full circle.
That guy, like to stay through all of it, and to just. Like if anyone wants anything trials, you generally immediately think of that site and kind of, okay, that is the way I can get into the sport, and that is the way I can
it's
get
like the bar, the foundation,
Absolute, facilitator, just absolute facilitator. And I think like we wouldn't be consistently where we are without kind of the seed wouldn't be. Like, I know there's other businesses that you can dial into, but without him, it could have died on its arse, because there were kind of direct factory deals, and the best riders didn't depend, and it was just you could get other stuff, and he just furnished the market with what we needed, and continues to do so.
Bread and butter man,
and it's like that was what anyone who rode trials outside of the UK knew. Tarty Bikes was like, that even you didn't have to be in our country, and I like to think even now, so many of these people in different countries are going looking at the UK like that's where the scene is right now. Like even though that's where the best riders are, it's where like the community feels.
Well, Joachim said that on his Instagram this morning. I think he had one of his question polls up and saying like, "Oh, where would you want to ride stuff?" He's going, UK's got the best scene. I want to go ride over there with
Hans
LEC
Ray
and stuff.
Hans Ray said exactly that. We're like, "Oh, who do you want to ride?" He goes, "When I go to the UK with Martin and the UK guys and Chris Agrig, that's who he likes to ride with, because he always had fun riding with British riders." And I think in every discipline in bikes, I think we've done that quite well in representing UK being noticed on the map, so to speak.
We're quite good when we put our minds to it.
No, not too bad.
But that's an open invitation to anyone who's listening, any guests we've had on before. If you want to come for a ride with the Shindig or anyone else in the UK, just put a message out there. That's one thing that we love, is a good old group ride. It's
If you're on a mountain bike and you want to try trials on it, like, yeah,
we had
come
that.
and do it.
Like the other week in London, like these guys there was on mountain bikes, had never really seen it before, and I was like, look, can I show you a few moves? You know, they're like doing the little endo drop-offs on a curb and showing them how to do that, and they were like, this is so cool, I can do tricks.
That's all it takes.
Yeah.
And he's probably gone
spend a lot of time on a curve. There's a lot to be done on a curve.
Too much. But Martin, thank you so much for your time. We won't keep you any longer. I'm sure you're a busy man. You've got lots to do today. Is there a final message for our listeners that you've got out there?
Oh wow, that's
just always catching people off guard. They're like,
yeah, no pressure, Martin. Just say something to wrap the whole thing up and inspire a generation. Yeah, sure. I don't think so. I think go ride your bike and have fun. That's it, right? It's the same ethos, and I think that's the beauty of trials, like camaraderie, and kind of like there's such an encouraging scene right now that everyone's like, there's no bitching in it. Everyone's kind of, generally speaking, is like, oh wow, that was good, and it's all. And that's the way it should be. So all good.
No, it's just nice to come from people.
I'll tell you what. Where's some fucking kit?
No, see, there you go.
Yeah,
so where's some kit?
That's made me think a lot more about it. Though.
It has. It does make me feel like
it doesn't have to be like the bright,
like you said,
colours.
the whole bright Kelly madness, but like some form of no, because I get that too. Because if you go to a company and they're all on site and they're wearing a uniform, they look professional. If you let your company go, just wear what the F you want. Then you kind of go, well, who do you work for?
We could probably get away with, when we jump around on walls around here, we could probably get away with more stuff, like not being kicked off as much, if we've got like an official looking kit. Because then it looks like you sort of know what you're doing.
Oh, are you Olympians?
Yeah.
You know, like, and then like an Olympian wears a...
I tell you what, I guarantee like that your kickoff rate would be less. Imagine if you got one of those Team GB tops on, and you went and rode around it a bit, I bet you'd be like, what's going on? It's just like, well, just training, just back from China and just, carrying on.
That's how Charlie gets away with it, doesn't he? It's HSBC on it.
Exactly.
The GB.
Yeah. Just back from Tokyo. So I've got my medal with me, but it's all right if I just finish.
You're hindering my practice.
Really, it's actually a really good point, Martin. I think it should resonate with some others. It's definitely got us thinking, hasn't it, mate? Really good point, mate. Absolutely. So thanks again, mate. We've been the Shindig podcast. It's been Martin Hawes. Thanks again, mate. It's been amazing.
Tune into us every week on your favourite podcast platform of choice. And I'm sure you'll probably see Martin's face a lot more, across wherever it may be.
I'll get you the date for the retro. I believe it's at Retro at Rad. I know where it's happening. So it's Retro at Rad. Retro at Rad at Radical Bikes in Essex. I will get you the date and we'll send it over, and obviously probably get yourself and Hazza over there for a ride.
Yeah, man. Yeah, let's do it.
Nice one.
Cool.
Thanks again, Martin. Take care, dude. We'll see you soon.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Ah, you